Greetings, my fellow meme consumers. I've just seen The Passion of Joan of Arc, released in 1928, and I really enjoyed this film. This is, so far, where 3 out of 4 for my binge-watching Sight and Sound films, with Searchers not being well, it was a disappointment, but it wasn't a bad film. But this one I really liked, not as much as Man with the Movie Camera, but this definitely is. Whereas Man with a Movie Camera was trying to go for what film is apart from theater, this is very much theater first, I would say. Although it does take advantage of film in one very specific way, the close-up, and this was something I was thinking about in my previous review that I didn't mention. One thing that cinema has over theater, apart from editing and camera movement, is close-ups for actors, because with theater you have to project so the person in the back can hear you, but in film you can just do a close-up and they can do a more solo performance, and that's pretty much this whole film. And it's a silent film, and you're just watching the main actress just perform without her voice, just her face and her body language, and it's very convincing. I mean, just her performance, it gives this film so much emotion and energy and passion, and it's just so... It's one of the best performances I've ever seen. Certainly the best silent performance I've ever seen. It's like beyond a shadow of a doubt. But because most silent films, like with Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, like they kind of relied on the slapstick, the over-exaggerated thing. And with the close-up in this, there's not much over-exaggeration. There's only like one or two movements that were just like playing it up, but even then it felt true to the character. I'm gonna go and get the one negative out of the way. Well, technically two, but one is again with silent film scores. There's usually some discrepancy, but I don't hold that against the film. This won't be part of my rating. But something that is in the film that bothered me was some of the framing. While I like the close-up of Joan of Arc, there were some shots where, like, let's say if you have it framed like this, like the people would be down here and there's all this space above their head, and it's like, why? And I just didn't get, like, what the decision for that was, like, why there's so much space. It just didn't make sense to me. Like, you could have just had them in the center, and they just had all this space, and there wasn't anything up there, it was just space. But that's really the only thing. I know it seems like a weird thing, but it happens quite frequently in the film, and every time it happens, it's just like, why? Because, like, there are some films, like Shining and Killing of a Sacred Deer, which are both, well, one's inspired by the other, obviously, but where it has a lot of space above the head, but it's not so distracting. Like, it's their whole body, and then there's more space. If they did that, that'd be fine, but for this, they just look so small, and it isn't, like, with those films, it gives a sense of them being small and powerless, but that was never really the case with the characters it does that for in this film. Like, usually they were very powerful characters. They were like the judges and priests and stuff, and it's like they aren't powerless, and I couldn't see any other reason. I just couldn't see any reason for it. But besides that, like I said, this film's great. There's a few subtle, like, camera, like, apart from the performances, because most people focus on the performance, and with reason, because it's a really good performance. But there are some cool, like, film things in this film that I also enjoyed. There is clever use of shadow in this film, and someone stepping in front of that shadow and covering it with more shadow. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's in a prison scene, and I thought that was really cool. And yeah, there's not too much. For the first part, there's a lot of tracking. Like tracking horizontally, and that was really cool. Like with the, I'm not sure if it was judges. I don't think there was a jury. I think it was just the judges or onlookers, whatever, and all of that was really cool at the beginning. It does stabilize throughout the film, but I didn't even notice it until I like kind of just thought about it. But I like that, like the movements of the camera. The scenes in this film, it almost feels like 4 parts. There's the initial court hearing, her in her cell, the torture room scene. I'll include, like, there's 2 cell scenes, one before and after the, well, technically there's 3, but, okay. So there's the initial hearings, cell scene, torture room scene, cell scene, her outside, another cell scene, her back outside, and then like a final battle, rebellion sort of thing. Uh, One thing with this film is I wasn't too familiar with Joan of Arc, and so I haven't looked it up, but I'll definitely look up who was trying her, because I thought it was the French that tried her, but they like go against the king in this film, and there's like one guy's like, hey, I'm here to represent your king, and it seems the other people don't like that king, and so I guess it's the English that are against, because they seem to be offended when she said like the English are gonna die here, so I'm assuming that's what happened. I actually just had a history class, but we went right over Joan of Arc. We just didn't have time because it was from the beginning of civilization to 1750, so we didn't have time for everything. And I just remember the 100 Years' War wasn't actually 100 years, although it technically was. They took a break. But yeah, definitely, I would look up some context. All I already knew about Joan of Arc that I can remember was she led the French, she had a vision of Jesus when she was young, and she was burned at the stake. And the third thing does happen in this film, and that was a really powerful scene. And I hope I'm not spoiling anything. Like it's a history thing. But yeah, not much to say. Like if you want to see a great performance that doesn't rely on just line delivery, but just uh, just the body and the face and just emoting without using words, I would definitely recommend this film for its performance. Body language, that's what I was looking for. If you're looking for a film with great body language. One other thing, like, I don't know how to, like, plug this in with anything else, but there's, like, one priest guy who is, like, he's balding, or I don't know if it looks like, people who, like, shave their heads, but I think he was just balding, and he had it in, like, little devil horns, like, way to be subtle. Like, this film is very much for Joan of Arc, which I don't know why it wouldn't be, but it's not, like, did she do it or did she not? And like some people today be like, oh, it wouldn't matter either way. But this one's very much like, no, she like heard God and she's a saint and she's great. Which, I mean, it's not like a big impact on the film. And like, I mean, I don't know who like would be for her being burned at the stake. But yeah, there's like it could be taken like with the well, not the witch trials because they weren't witches, but like if like say like even if they were, like, would it matter? But with this film, it's just no, it matters because she was right, and that was an interesting angle. It's not a big deal. It's go for this film for the performance. There's some cool like film stuff. It's definitely a great film. It's like incredible how good this. And I'm pretty sure I heard that the actress never did anything else beside this, which is just amazing to me because she's so great. But yeah, it's a great film. I would highly recommend it. I'm giving an A, obviously. So yeah. Bye, I guess.